Good day. This is your one and only DJ Dynamite. And today we'll be giving you a story. A story called In a Grove by Yunosuke Akutagawa. So I guess let's start now, but first, thank you for taking time to listen here. So let's start now with the radio drama. This is again your DJ Dynamite. Let's now go to the story called In a Grove.
To sail for old England.
Welcome to Radio Drama, presenting In a Grove by Yunosuke Akutagawa. Disclaimer: the following content contains scenes that may be harmful or traumatizing to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. The story begins with a woodcutter who were asked about his testimony by the High Police Commissioner.
Could you give us any information on how you found the body?
Yes, sir. Certainly, it was I who found the body this morning. As usual, I went to cut my daily quota of cedars. When I found the body in a grove, in a hollow in the mountains.
The High Police Commissioner also asked if he knew where the exact location of the body was found.
The exact location? About 150 meters up the Yamashina Stage Road. It's an of-the-way grove of bamboo and cedars.
After the woodcutter answered where the exact location is, the woodcutter also explained how the body looks when he found it.
The body was lying flat on his back dress in a bluish kimono and a wrinkled headdress of the Kyoto style.
He even explained the wound inflicted by the samurai and the crime scene.
A single sword stroke had pierced the breast. The fallen bamboo blades around it were stained with bloody blossoms. No, the blood was no longer running. The wound had dried up, I believe. And also, a gadfly was stuck past there, hardly noticing my footsteps.
Did you saw any sword or anything?
You asked me if I saw a sword or searched anything? No, nothing, sir. I found only a rope at the root of a cedar nearby. And, well, in addition to a rope, I found a camp. That was all. Apparently, he must have a battle of it before he was murdered, because the grass and the fallen bamboo blades have been trampled down all around.
Is there any horse nearby?
No, sir. It's hard enough for a man to enter, let alone a horse.
After this, the woodcutter testimony has ended. But now, it's time to hear the testimony of the traveling Buddhist priest, who turns out to have accidentally met each other before that tragedy.
What time did you met the couple?
The time? Certainly it was about noon yesterday, sir. The unfortunate man was on the road from Sekiyama to Yamashina.
He said that the guy was walking towards Sekiyama, with a woman accompanying him on a horseback. who turns out to be the man's wife. The priest then described the man's wife.
A scarf hanging from her head hid her face from view. All I saw was the color of her clothes, a lilac-colored suit. Her horse was a sorrel with a fine name.
Do you know the woman's height?
The lady's height? Oh, about 4 feet 5 inches. Since I am a Buddhist priest, I took a little notice about her details. Well, the man was armed with a sword, as well as bow and arrows. And I remember that he carried some 20-odd arrows in his quiver.
He even added, before ending his testimony, that
Little did I expect that he would meet such a fate. Truly human life is as evanescent as the morning dew or a flash of lightning. My words are inadequate to express my sympathy for him.
Hey, this is DJ Dynamite. Before we continue in a grove, we will have a short break, so please wait for us. We'll just have a 3-minute break.
O ito, Mrs. Family Rubbing Alcohol Yellow. Kahit araw-araw gamitin ng buong pamilya. At ito naman po, Doktora, 70% isopropyl alcohol. Effective disinfectant. Hindi lang pampamilya, pang-sports!
Ops, tama na. Masama nagkikipag-away. Oh, teka. Yung kay Daddy, hindi totoong away yun.
Para walang away, kain na tayo ng Chicken McDo.
Mapapakamay ka. Deep fried to perfection, kaya crunchy, juicy, tasty. Lasap ang sarap mula balat hanggang buto.
Masakit ba?
Kunti lang.
Paparapakyaw!
Guys! Alam pa ang maraming pandesal? Ano? And this is what?
Unipack sardines, pak na pak sa sarap, pak na pak sa saya.
Anong pa ang mataas tumalon? Ano? Eh di, tibaklo!
Pak sa lasa, walang MSG, Unipack quality, sulit for everybody.
Guys! Anong pak ang kailangan gawin? Ano? Eh di, pakyaw na! Unipack! Sarap na pak.
Inaamin ko na kay tagal bago nakalimutan ito. Muntik nang nasanay ako sa aking pag-iisa. At kaya nang iwanan ng bakas ng kahapon ko. Tuloy pa rin ang awit ng buhay ko. Nagbago man ang himig ng puso mo. Handa akong hamunin ang aking mundo pagkatuloy pa rin.
Welcome change with the new Burger McDo.
Pag kailangan ng gamot, huwag mahihiyang magtanong. Kung may right med ba nito? May right med ba nito? Pag may kailangang gamot, huwag mahiyang magtanong. Kung may right med ba nito? Ang right med ay premium na gamot na kayang bilhin. Dahil gusto namin na gumaling kayo.
And we're back to the story called In a Grove. So let's start again from where we stopped.
After they asked for a testimony from the traveling Buddhist priest, the High Police Commissioner then asked the policeman about the guy who was arrested and how dangerous the suspect is.
He is a notorious brigand called TAJOMARU. When I arrested him, he had fallen off his horse. He was groaning on the bridge at Awataguchi.
What time did you arrest this man called TAJOMARU?
The time? It was in the early hours of last night. For the record, I might say that the other day I tried to arrest him, but unfortunately he escaped. He was wearing a dark blue silk kimono and a large plain sword, and as you see, he got a bow and arrows somewhere.
Oh, the bow and arrows that the victim owned.
You say that this bow and this arrow look like the ones owned by the dead man? Then, TAJOMARU must be the murderer. The bow wound with leather strips, the black lacquered quiver, the 17 arrows with hawk feathers, these were all in his possession, I believe.
The HPC then asked about the horse since it was stated in his testimony by the priest.
Yes, sir. The horse is, as you say, sorrel with a fine mane. A little beyond the stone bridge, I found the horse grazing by the roadside, with his long rein dangling. Surely there is a providence in his having been thrown by the horse.
After this, the police also mentioned about how deadly the suspect is.
Of all the robbers prowling around Kyoto, this TAJOMARU had given the most grief to the women in town.
He then said that the last autumn, a wife who came to the mountains back of Pindora of the tribe temple, presumably to pay a visit, was murdered along with a girl. He also said that it has been suspected that it was his doing.
If this criminal murdered the man, you cannot tell what he may have done with the man's wife. May it please your honor to look into this problem as well.
He then finished his testament, and with the next testimony, now from an old woman, she was asked about the relationship of her daughter and the victim. She said,
"Yes, sir. The corpse is the man who married my daughter. He does not come from Kyoto. He was a samurai in the town of Kikofo in the province of Wakasa. His name was KANAZAWA no Takehiko, and his age was 26. He was a gentle disposition, so I am sure he did not to provoke the anger of others."
After explaining the relationship of her daughter and victim and its characteristic, she was also asked about her daughter.
My daughter, her name is MASAGO, and her age is 19. She is a spirited, fun-loving girl, but I am sure she has never known any man except Takehiko. She has a small, oval, dark, completed face with a mole at the corner at her left eye.
She explained the date crime scene happened. She said that yesterday Takehiko left for Osaka with her daughter.
What bad luck is it that things should have come to such a sad end? What has become of my daughter? I am resigned to giving up my son-in-law as lost, but the fate of my daughter worries me sick. For heaven's sake, leave no stone unturned to find her.
She then said after this how she hates TAJOMARU, with her tears running down as she ended her testimony. After that, the testimony of a woman who was come to the Shimizu temple, who turned out to be the wives of the victim, then gave her confession.
That man in the blue silk kimono, after forcing me to yield to him, laughed mockingly as he looked at my bond husband. How horrified my husband must have been, but no matter how hard he struggled in agony, the rope cut into him all the more tightly. In spite of myself, I ran strumblingly toward his side, or rather I tried to run towards him, but the man instantly knocked me down. Just at the moment, I saw an indescribable light in my husband's eyes, something beyond expression.
She said that in his eyes make her shudder even now. That instantaneous look of her husband, who couldn't speak a word, told her all his heart. The flash in his eyes was neither anger or sorrow, but only a cold light, a look of his loathing, more struck by the look in his eyes than by the blow of the teeth. She called out in spite of herself, and she fell unconscious.
In the course of time, I came to, and found that the man in the blue silk was gone. I saw only my husband still bound to the root of the cedar. I raised myself from the bamboo blades with difficulty and looked into his face, but the expression in his eyes was just the same as before.
She kept talking about the way his husband looks. She said that beneath the cold contempt in his eyes, there was hatred, shame, grief, and anger. She don't know how to express her heart at that time. Reeling to her feet, she went up to her husband.
"Takehiro," I said to him, "since things have come to this pass, I cannot live with you. I'm determined to die, but you must die too. You saw my shame. I can leave you alive as you are."
That was all she could say. Still, he went on gazing on her with loathing and contempt. Her heart breaking, she looked for his sword. She think it must have been taken by the robber. Neither his sword nor his bow and arrows were to be seen in the grove.
But fortunately, my small sword was lying at my feet. Raising it overhead, once more I said, "Now, give me your life. I follow you right away."
When he heard those words, he moved his lips with difficulty, since his mouth was stuffed with leaves. His voice could not be heard at all. But at a glance, she understood his words. Despising her, his look said only, "Kill me!" and neither conscious or unconscious. She then stabbed the small sword through the lilac-colored kimono into his breast.
Again, at this time, I must fainted.
By the time she managed to look up, he had already breathed his last still in bonds. A streaking sunlight streamed through the clump of cedars and bamboos, and shone on his pale face. Gulping down her sobs, she untied the ropes from his dead body.
And what has become of me since I have no more strength to tell you? Anyway, I hadn't the strength to die. I stabbed my own throat with a small sword. I threw myself into a pond of the foot of the mountain, and I tried to kill myself in many ways. Unable to end my life, I am still living in dishonor. Worthless as I am, I must have been forsaken even by the most merciful Kwanon. Whatever can I do? Whatever can I...
As she ended the confession, she was also violently sobbing through her pain due to her mental pain that she went through.
Hello again, and as always, it's time for another short break. Do not worry, for we will come back as soon as possible. So again, this is DJ Dynamite. Please wait for a bit. We'll be right back.
Kung minsan ay hinahanap ang alaala ng iyong ngiti, inaamin kong nagkay-tagal pa bago malilimutan ito. Kay hirap nang maulit muli ang naiwan nating pag-ibig. harapin ang katotohanan ito. Tuloy pa rin ang awit ng buhay ko, nagbago man ang himig ng puso mo.
Kaya niya? Kaya mo?
Pag kailangan ng gamot, huwag mahihiyang magtanong. Kung may right med ba nito? May right med ba nito? Pag may kailangan gamot, huwag mahiyang magtanong. Kung may right med ba nito? Ang right med ay premium na gamot na kayang bilhin. Dahil gusto namin na gumaling kayo.
And we're finally back to our radio drama presenting In a Grove by Yunosuke Akutagawa. Let's go back to our reader/narrator, DIOKNO.
Before we continue on Tajomaru's confession, let's go with the story of the murdered man, as told through a medium. As we start the story of him, he said that after violating his wife, the robber, sitting there, began to speak comforting the words to her.
Of course I couldn't speak. My whole body was tied fast to the root of a cedar. But meanwhile, I winked at her many times, as much as to say, "Don't believe the robber." I wanted to convey some such meaning to her, but my wife, sitting dejectedly on the bamboo leaves, was looking hard at her lap. To all appearances, she was listening to his words. I was agonized by jealousy. In the meantime, the robber went on with his clever talk, from one subject to another.
The robber finally made his bold, brazen proposal. The robber said that,
Once your virtue is tamed, you won't get along well with your husband. So won't you be my wife instead? It's my love for you that made me be violent towards you.
while the criminal talked, his wife raised her face as if in the trance.
She had never looked so beautiful as that moment. What did my beautiful wife say in answer to him while I was sitting bound there? I am so lost in space. But I have never ever thought of her answer without burning with anger and jealousy. Truly, she said,
"Then take me away with you wherever you go."
This is not the whole of her sin, as if they were all. Takehiko would not be tormented so much in the dark. When she was going out of the grove, as if in a dream, her hand in the robber's, she suddenly turned pale and pointed at Takehiko, tied to the root of a cedar, and said,
Kill him! I cannot marry you as long as he lives! Kill him!
She cried many times, as if she had gone crazy. Even now, these words threatened to blow Takehiko headlong into a bottomless abyss of darkness.
has such a hateful thing come out of a human mouth ever before? Have such cursed words ever struck a human ear, even once? Even when these words a robber himself turned pale.
Kill him!
She cried, clinging to his arms. Looking hard at her, he answered neither yes or no. But hardly had I thought about his answer before she had been knocked down into bamboo leaves. Quietly folding his arms, he looked at me and said,
What will you do with her? Kill her or save her? You have only to nod. Kill her?
For these words alone, I would like to pardon his crime.
While Takehiko hesitated, she shrinkened and ran into the depths of the grove. The robbers instantly snatched at her, but the robber failed even to grasp her sleeve. After she ran away, the robber took up Takehiko's sword, and also his bow and arrows. With a single stroke, the robber cut one of Takehiko's bonds. He remembers the robber mumbling,
My fate is next.
Then he disappeared from the grove, always silent after that. No, I heard someone's crying, untying the rest of my bonds. I listened carefully, and I noticed that it was my own crying. I raised my exhausted body from the root of the cedar. In front of me, there was shining the small sword which my wife had dropped. I took it up and stabbed it into my breast.
A bloody lump rose to his mouth, but he didn't feel any pain. When his breast grew cold, everything was as silent as the dead in their graves.
What profound silence! Not a single bird note was heard in the sky, over this grave, in the hollow of the mountains. Only a lonely light lingered in the cedars of mountains. By and by the light gradually grew fainter, till the cedars of bamboo was lost to view. Lying there, I was enveloped in deep silence.
After that, someone crept up to him.
I tried to see who it was, but darkness had already been gathering around me. Someone drew the small sword softly out of my breast in its invisible hand. At the same time, once more blood flowed into my mouth, and once for all, I sank down into the darkness of space.
After this, then it was Tajomaru's confession, who raped Takehiko's wife.
Could you give us any testament regarding to this murdered man? Anything to say about this?
I killed him. But not her.
Where did she go to?
Where she's gone, I can tell. Oh, wait a minute. No torture can make me confess what I don't know. Now things have come to such a head. I won't keep anything from you.
He said that he met the couple a little past noon on that day. Takehiko was murdered.
Yesterday, a little past noon, I met that couple. Just then a puff of wind blew and raised her hanging scarf, so that I caught a glimpse of her face. Instantly, it was again covered from my view. That may have been one reason. She looked like a bodhisattva. At that moment, I made up my mind to capture her, even if I had to kill her man.
Why do you want to kill the man?
Why? To me, killing isn't a matter of such great consequence as you might think. When a woman is captured, her man has to be killed anyway. In killing, I use the sword I wear at my side. Am I the only one who kills people? You don't use your sword. You kill people with your power, with your money. Sometimes you kill them on the pretext of working for their good. It's true, they don't bleed. They are in the best of health, but all the same, you've killed them. It's hard to say who is a greater sinner, you or me. But it would be good if I could capture a woman without killing her man. So I made up my mind to capture her and do my best not to kill him. But it's out of the question on the Yamashina stage road. So I managed to lure the couple into the mountains.
He stated that it was quite easy to lure the couple into the mountains. He became their traveling companion, and then he told them that there was an old moon in the mountains over there, and that he had dug it open and found many mirrors and swords. He kept telling every details of how it happened.
I went on to tell them I'd brought the things in a grove behind the mountain, and that I'd like to sell them at a low price to anyone who would care to have them. Then, you see, isn't greed terrible? He was beginning to be moved by my talk before he knew it. In less than half an hour, they were driving their horse towards the mountain with me. When it came in front of the grove, I told them that the treasures were buried in it, and I asked them to come and see. The man had no objection. He was blinded by greed. Well, the woman said she would wait on horseback. It was natural for her to say so, at the sight of a thick grove. To tell you the truth, my plan worked just as I wished. So I went into the grove with him, leaving her behind alone.
The grove is only bamboo for some distance. About 50 yards ahead, there's a rather open clump of cedars. It was a convenient spot for his purpose. Pushing his way through the groves, he told Takehiko a plausible lie that his treasure were buried under the cedars.
When I told him this, he pushed his laborious way toward the slender cedar visible through the grove. After a while, the bamboo thinned out, and we came to where a number of cedars grew in a row. As soon as we got there, I seized him from behind because, well, he was a trained sword-bearing warrior. He was quite strong, but he was taken by surprise, so there was no help for him. I soon tied him up to the root of a cedar. Where did I get a rope? Thank heaven. Being a robber, I had a rope with me, since I might have to scale a wall at any moment. Of course, it was easy to stop him from calling out by gagging his mouth with fallen bamboo leaves.
When he disposed Takehiko, he went to Takehiko's wife and asked her to come and see Takehiko, because her husband had suddenly been sick.
It's needless to say that this plan also worked well. The woman, her sedge hat off, came into the depths of the grove, where I led her by the hand. The instant she caught sight of her husband, she drew a small sword. I've never seen a woman of such violent temper. If I had been off guard, I'd have got a thrust in my side.
Tajomaru then dodged, but she kept on slashing at him. She could have wounded or killed Tajomaru, but he managed to strike down her small sword without drawing his own sword. He thinks that the most spirited woman is defenseless without a weapon.
Well, at least I could satisfy my desire for her without taking her husband's life. Yes, without taking his life. I had no wish to kill him. Well, I was about to run away from the grove, leaving the woman behind in tears when she frantically clung to my arm. In broken fragments of words, she asked that either her husband or I die. She said it was more trying than death to have her shame known to two men.
She guessed out that she wanted to be the wife of whichever survived. Then, a furious desire to kill Takehiko seized on TAJOMARU.
Telling you in this way, no doubt, I seem a crueler man than you. But that's because you didn't see her face. Especially her burning eyes. At that moment, as I saw her eye to eye, I wanted to make her my wife. Even if I were to be struck by lightning, I wanted to make her my wife.
This single desire filled his mind. This was not only lust, as what everyone might think. At that time, if TAJOMARU had no other desire than lust, he'd surely not have mind knocking her down and running away.
Then, I wouldn't have stained my sword with this blood. But the moment I gazed at her face in the dark grove, I decided not to leave there without killing him.
But he didn't like to resort to unfair means to kill Takehiko. He untied Takehiko and told him to cross sword with TAJOMARU. The rope that was found at the root of the cedar is the rope TAJOMARU dropped at that time. Takehiko was furious with anger, so he drew his thick sword.
And quick as thought, he sprang at me ferociously, without speaking a word. I don't need to tell you how our fight turned out. I think it was the 23rd stroke. Please remember this. I'm impressed with this fact still. Nobody under the sun has ever clashed swords with me 20 strokes.
When Takehiko fell, TAJOMARU turned toward her, lowering his blood-stained sword. But to TAJOMARU's great astonish, she was gone. TAJOMARU wondered to where she had run away. He looked for her in the clump of cedar. He listened, but heard only a groan sound from the throat of a dying man.
As soon as he started to cross swords, she may have run away through the grove to call for help. When I thought of that, I decided it was a matter of life and death to me. So robbing him of his sword and bow and arrows, I ran out to the mountain road. There I found her horse, still grazing quietly. It would be a mere waste of words to tell you the later details. But before I entered town, I had already parted with the sword. That's all my confession.
Even after finishing his confession with the murder, he still has his confidence, as after this, he said,
I know that my head will be hanged in chains anyways, so I don't care. Put me down for, I don't know, the maximum penalty.
And that is where the story ends, in this story called In a Grove.
Hey yo, it's again your DJ Dynamite. Let's thank our voice actors and actress with Denzel Michael DIOKNO as the narrator and the policeman. We also got the woodcutter John Paul de la Cruz. Next is Joey Delgado as our High Police Commissioner and the Buddhist priest. We also have JONA TABAQUE as the old woman and MASAGO, the wife of Takehiko. The last two of our voice actors, these are Carlos Miguel MATOCIñO as Takehiko, and Jerico Lorenzo Misolas as TAJOMARU, and of course, our radio DJ. Let's all give them a round of applause. Comment down below what you guys think. Who do you think is the murderer? And we'll see you again in our own radio drama. This is again your radio DJ, DJ Dynamite. Thank you for listening.